What's good, everybody? Welcome to the KAMONE, the safe space. I'm joined by Faith, a registered counselor. How are you doing, Faith?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good. Yeah, it's Mental Health Month. We just want to raise awareness and have this conversation. What do you feel about mental health right now?
I feel with the mental health is very important.
Yeah.
And I think we don't take care of our mental health as much as we do our physical health.
True.
And it's exactly the same. So mental health, physical health is the same thing. It's just that that's a part of ourselves that we really neglect.
Yeah, true.
So
Yeah, just tell me a little bit about your work. You're a registered counselor. Yeah, tell me more about it.
Okay, so I am a registered counselor. So I'm registered with the Health Professions Council of South Africa. So I did my BPsych honors degree, then did an internship, and then registered with the HPCSA. So I have been in private practice for 9 years now. And that's what I do. I'm a registered counselor in private practice.
Okay, that's great. Today's conversation, we want to talk about self-care is essential. It is important that a lot of people neglect that part, taking care of yourself. Do you think self-care is very selfish? Do you consider that?
Okay, so I think self-care is important. Self-care is necessary. It's not selfish. It's very necessary.
True.
Because if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't function.
True. Because a lot of adults, people in general, they don't have the time because we are so focused on making money. We're so focused on other things. Okay, what are some of the important things that we need to pay attention to our mind? What we consume. What is the most important thing about the mind?
Okay, so like I said, taking care of yourself and taking care of your mental health is pretty much the same as you would take care of your physical body.
True.
So for an example, if you don't take care of yourself physically, then you get sick. If you don't take time out to exercise and be healthy, there's going to be consequences to that. So your body is going to suffer because you're not taking care of it. So it's exactly the same with mental health, to say that you need to take care of your mind because your mind is part of you. So that would be then taking care of your emotional self, taking care of your mind, taking care of how you think about things, how you perceive things, how you reason when it comes to certain things. So those are the aspects of yourself that you need to take care of. But also, as we are talking about self-care. Self-care is like a holistic thing, So when you are self-caring, you're taking care of yourself holistically. So that would be like I said, emotional self-care. It would be mental self-care. It would be physical self-care. It would be spiritual self-care. Because as human beings, we are multifaceted. So there's different elements of us. And all elements need care. So like I said, if you don't take care of your body, then your body is going to get to a point where it can't function anymore. If you don't take care of your emotions, you're going to get to a point where
you're breaking.
You break emotionally. So you lose your temper because you're not, taking care of your emotions. Gets to a point of being depressed and anxious, all of those things. So it's just about taking care of that. We are spiritual beings. So whatever your beliefs are, or your spirituality is, taking care of your spiritual self is important. Because then if you don't, then you feel, heavy. You have nowhere to offload, So it's just about taking care of every aspect of yourself. And that's why I said with self-care is essential, it is important, it is necessary. It's not selfish.
You're here to break it down so clearly. I'm like, I'm so relieved right now, to be honest. Is it more hard starting over? We are going through life, people are going through life in general, Is it more hard starting over, Yeah.
Okay. In what sense?
In life in general, with everything.
Yeah. So starting over. Okay. So I think it would be difficult starting over. So that's why I wanted you to give me like context in terms of in what sense. Okay. So let's say for an example, I was in a 10-year relationship where I was committed, I invested in the relationship, I was building with this person, and then it just ends, you know. So adjusting to that and having to start over is going to be difficult, you know. So I think starting over in any aspect is difficult because you need to redo it again. You need to reinvest, you know, you need to then deal with the emotional impact of the loss of whatever it is that you lost because now you have to start over. So
that's very true, because we are, you know, we are a generation, I'm a 2000, we are a generation of, we can't really handle certain stresses, we give up so quickly. You know, what's the most important advice that you had to learn when you're in your industry?
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of?
Just life advice.
Life advice.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned giving up easy. Yeah. Okay. So I think in terms of that, anything that you do in life requires effort. It requires hard work. Anything that matters requires work. Okay. So I think giving up then is giving up on yourself. You know. So like you mentioned, the starting over, and I made an example about a relationship. Okay, so I've invested in this relationship, it was great, everything was going well, and then it ended. Okay, does that mean that there's no life beyond that relationship? Do I then give up on love completely and feel that I can never be in another relationship because this one didn't work out? Yeah, you see, so that's exactly what I'm saying, to say that you are going to get hurt. You know, you're not always going to get what you want. Life is not going to work out how you want it to be, you know, whether career wise, whether education wise, you know, in life in general, we're not always going to get our way, you know. But it's about then saying that, okay, this didn't work out, but is it a reflection of then life will never work out, or this specific thing didn't work out? Okay, so I think that's what we struggle with as human beings, separating that, to say that, okay, the relationship didn't work out. The relationship failed, not me. I didn't fail.
We don't separate.
Yeah, you know, to say that I didn't fail. You know, I am not a failure because this relationship didn't work out. This relationship failed. But I'm still a complete person who is still capable of loving, who is still capable of, you know, finding another relationship, who can move on and heal from that relationship that didn't work. But when you then take it and you personalize it and you make it about you, then it feels like you are the failure. You know, your things are not working out because of a relationship, you know, I didn't make it. So then it becomes easier to then give up because it feels like I'm failing in life. You know, I'm failing. I am not succeeding in this. Then I want to give up because I feel like a failure. But it's not my failure. The relationship failed. So being able to separate that. When I then am studying and I fail certain modules, did I fail modules or am I a failure? You know, I failed a grade, you know, or I failed a test. The test didn't work out. So what do I need to do next time to make sure that I pass the test? Okay, but it doesn't, you know, define me as a person and make me a failure because I failed at this one little specific thing. I can redo it, you know, I can evaluate and say, okay, I failed this test because there wasn't enough study time. I failed this test because I procrastinated and studied late. Okay, so now I know why I failed the test, you know, so then I know, okay, so next time, if I have to then write the test, I need to give myself a week to study as opposed to studying the day before, so that I don't fail the test again, you know. But when so I am not a failure, you know, I failed this thing, you know. I am not a loser, I lost that game, you know. I am not unlovable, that relationship was a relationship where I didn't get love, But it says a lot about the relationship and the dynamics of that relationship, but not me. I'm not an unlovable person because this specific relationship didn't work out. And I think that's why we give up, because we just personalize it and we make it about ourselves, and it feels like, I will never amount to anything in life because this didn't work out, and I'm a failure, and I'm a loser, and I'm a what. But it's not you, it's that thing. So separating that for yourself then helps you to know that, okay, but I can continue. I don't have to give up. I just need to do this better. I just need to maybe communicate better in my next relationship. Because what made that relationship fail is the fact that we had very bad communication. There are certain things that I contributed to the bad communication. There are certain things that that person contributed. So I can still be in another relationship. I just need to improve on my communication.
That's why a lot of people give up on love and say love is not for me. I'm like, but the question is, how do we heal from such things, how can we move on? Because it's so hard to move on from something that you think that you might be wrong, or how do you move on from that?
Okay, so I think the first thing is the self-awareness. Okay, so like I said, this relationship didn't work out. Okay, but what do I feel made this relationship not work out? It was the communication. We were terrible at communicating. We didn't have conversations, we had arguments. Things would pile up, and then we would have a lot of conflict in the relationship where it feels like we're having the same fight because every time we argue, I would bring up what you did last week and last month, and it felt like we never are able to work through things. So then conflict resolution was not there in this relationship. But being able to understand and give yourself time to reflect on why this thing didn't work out then helps you then to be able to then do it better in the next one. Then I can allow myself to process those emotions, to say, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, I'm angry about that relationship not working. So then I allow myself to process those emotions, to process that anger, that sadness, that disappointment, so that I am okay when I enter the next relationship. I'm not dragging the pain and the hurt of the last relationship, because I understand why it didn't work out. I understand what I contributed to it not working out, and I understand how I feel about it, and I've processed that. Okay, so then when I'm ready for the next relationship, then I know, this is what I want, for this relationship. This is what I'm going to do better. So it gives me motivation to be able to move on and heal from that.
Do you think that we need to normalize showing up for ourselves?
We do. We really do. We really do. And it goes back to that self-care question again, to say that if you don't take care of you, then who's going to take care of you? If you don't take care of you. So for an example, if I neglect myself and I don't take care of myself, and I'm overworking myself, and I'm doing all of these things, if I were to drop down one day, and just like collapse and die, life goes on. The job that you overworked yourself for continues. There's a post. There's a post the next day to say, okay, Faith is not here anymore. Condolences to the family. But we take out the post, and say that there's a vacancy. Someone else fills that position. Life goes on. So you are breaking yourself for things that will continue beyond you. If I am not okay, I can't be okay in any other area of my life. If I'm not okay, I can't be an okay mother for my kids because I'm not okay. I can't be an okay wife to my husband because I'm not okay. So if I take care of myself first, and I'm okay enough to show up as best as I can in those other relationships and those other elements in my life, then I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it, for us. So if I don't take care of me, I can't be the best version of a mother to my kids. Sure. If I don't take care of me, I can't be the best version of a partner to my husband. If I don't take care of me, I can't be the perfect version of an employee and be productive for whatever company I'm working for. So it starts with taking care of you, taking care of yourself, being okay enough to be able to show up in those other places. So like you say, show up for yourself so that you can be able to show up in any other relationship or any other aspect of your life that requires you.
How do we deal with anger in a very constructive way?
Okay. All right. So anger is an emotion. just like any other emotion. You know, I think we tend to think anger is a bad emotion, but anger is an emotion. You know, it's an emotion just like happiness, just like sadness, just like whatever other emotion. Okay. And the whole point of emotions is being able to allow yourself to process your emotions. Okay. So that you are okay. All right. So it's the same with anger. I think the first one is, again, the self-awareness. You know, I mentioned that a lot because I need to understand what I'm angry about for me to be able to then work through my anger and then be okay. So there's nothing wrong with experiencing anger, because as human beings, we all experience emotions, whatever it is. Okay, so we all experience emotions, but it's about allowing yourself to process your emotions. Okay, so I always say that we are emotional beings. Okay, so every single human being experiences emotions. Okay, we just don't express them the same way, which then goes to the question that you asked me. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's say I am a person who is very expressive. Okay, so when I am angry, then I shout and I scream and I kick things, and everyone knows that Faith is angry. Okay, but that's how I express my emotions. Okay, so remember I said we all experience them, but we don't express them the same way. Okay? Whereas another person, let's say, is like, when I'm angry, I then go to my bedroom, shut the door, cry, deal with it, whatever it is that I need to deal with. And then once I've calmed down, then I leave my room, and then I'm able to go to my husband and say that, you know, what you said made me angry. Okay. Again, I'm expressing my emotion. I'm not as expressive as the first person, but again, I'm expressing. Okay. So there's no right or wrong way of expressing. It's just allowing yourself to have that outlet. And that's why I'm saying that it's a normal emotion to experience. Okay. But what happens is that if we don't allow ourselves to process so how it's supposed to go is that we're supposed to experience the emotion. Like I said, everyone experiences emotion. So you're supposed to experience, and then process your emotion, and then let it go. That's how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to carry emotions. We were not created to carry emotions. We're supposed to experience the emotion, process it, and then let it go. All right. So again, like I said, I experience the emotion. I am experiencing anger. Okay. So then I need to allow myself to process the anger. Okay. So I ask myself a question. What are you feeling? I'm feeling angry. Okay. What is making you angry? What my husband said this morning before we left the house. Okay. But what about what he said is making you angry? The fact that I feel that he was rude. I felt that he was, insensitive in what he said. And that offended me. And that's why I'm angry. So you see now how I understand what I'm feeling. I understand why I'm feeling that way and where it's coming from. So then I'm allowing myself to process it, to say that, okay, so I'm angry about what he said because it was rude. It was, he was being inconsiderate and, whatever it is. So then now I've allowed myself to process the anger and understand where it's coming from. So when I get home, then I'm able to then express. Okay, but now I'm addressing the real issue, to say, to what you said this morning, for me was rude, and I was offended. Yeah, I was offended by what you said. Okay, you see, I'm not lashing out because I've processed my anger. I felt it, I understood it, I allowed myself to process it. So now I can express to him, to say, what you did this morning hurt me and it made me feel angry. What I was angry about was how you spoke to me, because it felt rude. And I felt that, you were invalidating me or being inconsiderate. And then we deal with the real issue, which is the rudeness and the inconsiderateness and all of that, because I've processed my anger. But if I don't allow myself to process anger, then I'm constantly reacting out of anger. I don't understand, where it's coming from, what's happening. I'm experiencing it and I'm just lashing out, So it would be different then. Let's say it's happening in the morning and he says something and I start shouting and screaming and telling him, how horrible he is. But then we're having an argument. We are fighting about my anger. We're not having a conversation. Whereas the second part, where I allowed myself to process my anger, I was able to go back and say, okay, I was angry in the morning because. So now we're having a conversation where he can say, I didn't mean to offend you. I was just raising that, whatever it is. And then, I understand where it's coming from. Then he apologizes and life goes on. But because I allowed myself to process the anger before I then, addressed the situation or reacted out of emotion. Okay. So we experience, we process, and then we let it go so that you are okay. That's how you deal with emotions.
We are learning a lot. What is the most hardest thing that you have dealt with in counseling?
Oh, there's a lot.
Tell me about it.
The hardest thing that I've dealt with in counseling, I think for me, it's couples therapy. Okay. Yeah. So that's the hardest for me. But it's my favorite. I love doing couples therapy. But it's the most challenging as well, because you're dealing with two individuals in the same space. And especially if, the couple comes to you because they are in a bad space, there's already maybe ineffective communication skills, there's a lot of fighting, or there's someone cheated and there's infidelity. But, navigating the dynamics of the relationship within the counseling session is very difficult, So I think that's the hardest, especially when, people are reacting out of emotion in the session and they are talking over each other and they are arguing, and you're trying to facilitate the process. Yeah, I think that's what I find difficult. But in terms of individual sessions, I don't think I've had like a super challenging case. Yeah. Unless if it's like childhood abuse or, something hectic like that. Yeah. So traumatic situations. That's really hard to work with as well, because you need to separate yourself from this person's issues so that you are able to help them. But we're human at the end of the day. And if you're telling me something that's very traumatic in a lot of detail, it is gonna, affect me a bit,
When do you realize that you had the passion for people?
I think I've always had it. I think I've always had the what can I call it? I've always had the passion of helping. Yeah, I think from a young age I knew that I want to be in a helping profession. So I just wasn't sure like which profession, I want to be a doctor and help people, or I want to be a humanitarian and go around the world and, save children and whatever it was. But I've always had a passion for helping. And I think, after matric, then I decided, let's try psychology, and see how that goes. But it was the greatest decision I've ever made, because I am truly passionate about what I do. Yeah.
Do you think Black people, we really normalize, we really pay attention to counseling?
I think it's getting better. I think there used to be a lot of like stigma around going for therapy. It would be like, if you go for therapy, something is wrong with you. You are sick, you are crazy, something is wrong, and people wouldn't be open to that because it means something is wrong with me. But I think now it's a lot better. Our generation is taking care of themselves. I think also there's a lot of awareness around mental health, to say it's not crazy people who go for counseling. It's not, it's mental health is health, and that's why I explained it that way when we started, to say that mental health is health. If I am okay leaving my house and going to a doctor, why is it problematic for me to leave my house and go see a therapist? Because then I'm going to see a health professional regarding something that I'm struggling with. Just like I would go see a health professional regarding something being wrong in my body. Okay. But I think a lot of people are embracing it. A huge portion of my clientele is Black people. And actually a lot of men are starting to come for therapy as well. I think, before it was like,
it's not the same. I was about to close the question of about the main part, taking more than your mental health and your emotional handle. How can you process that? Okay. All right. So I think it just goes back to what I'm saying, that a lot of people don't go for therapy because of the stigma, and the mindset around it.
and the fact that it's a sign of weakness if you go for therapy. Something is wrong with you, you're not being able to handle things. Men don't cry, men don't feel anything because that's weakness. I think the mindset around that needs to change, to say that men are human beings as well. Men have emotions as well. They feel things, they also need to process emotions. So I think just normalizing emotions and normalizing feelings and accepting that just like anybody has feelings and emotions and a brain. Everyone needs to take care of their feelings, their emotions, their brains, And I think, like you said, that it's something that, men have internalized to say that it's a sign of weakness if I cry. It's a sign of weakness if I talk about my struggles, But it's something that we've been socialized to think. We were raised that way from a young age, to say, indoda ikhali. You tell a little boy when they cry, you say, hey, don't cry, Nana, indoda ikhali, But then you are teaching that child to suppress their emotions. You are teaching that child to feel ashamed of their emotions. And then when they grow up and they're a man, I can't, I don't know how to deal with my emotions. I don't know how to talk about my emotions because I was told never to. It's a sign of weakness, But again, like I said, that we are all emotional beings. We still experience emotions, we still feel them, Then you find other ways of dealing with your emotions where you then lash out at people, where you become abusive. Because what do you do with all of these emotions sitting inside of you if you're not allowing yourself to process them, So it's just about normalizing the fact that we are all human beings. We all have, a mental side of us that we need to take care of. We all have an emotional side of us that we need to take care of. And actually taking care of yourself is essential. It's not selfish. You talking about your emotions is not weakness. You're finding strength in your emotions. You're dealing with your emotions. You're not bottling them up until one day you explode, So yeah, I think just, normalizing emotions, allowing yourself to express. When you need to talk about things and you feel you can't talk about things with your friends or your family because they wouldn't understand, or you want to be strong for everyone, then go for therapy. See someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know your life, who is non-judgmental, and go to that space and use it as your place of processing, so that you then leave that space, go back to your normal life and apply those things. So
what advice do you have for people that need to seek counseling?
Okay. So the advice that I have for people who want to seek counseling is that that's the best thing you'll ever do for yourself. You don't go for counseling or for therapy because, you are broken, or because you don't need to wait for that. You don't need to wait for a point where you are overwhelmed, you are frustrated, it's too much and you can't anymore, But going for therapy, so I normally say that we all have coping skills. Okay, everyone has them. We all have like our internal coping skills that everyone has, and that's what helps us to be able to deal with stress in stressful situations, to deal with anxiety when, the anxiety provoking situations, whatever it is. Okay, but then it does get to a point where your normal coping skills are no longer effective to help you work through certain things. So let's say I've been dealing with a lot of stress and I've been coping fine, and then one day it's just too much and I feel overwhelmed. It means that my normal coping skills are no longer effective. So then making a decision to go for counseling is saying that my normal coping skills are no longer effective right now, and this is overwhelming for me. So I'm going to therapy to get more effective coping skills so that I can be able to cope again. Okay. So I'm not going because I have a mental health situation or, a mental illness. I'm not going because, I'm at the verge of a breakdown and I'm about to commit suicide. But I realize that for me right now, I'm having a very hard time and I'm not coping. Whether it's work or, relationship or family situation, I'm not coping, And then I go for therapy because I just want to get effective coping skills. And that's what then you work on in your process. So don't wait until you are at the verge of breaking, you know. It's okay to go for therapy. It's okay to talk to someone. It's okay to find effective ways of dealing with things, you know, before they get to a point where you feel you no longer can do anything. Yeah.
Where can people book you for? Where can people book you?
Okay. So people can find me. Yeah. Okay. So I have a website. It's faithkomane.com, I think. Yeah. And then, so you can actually just send a request on the website, and then I will then be able to contact you and book a session for you. I also have a WhatsApp number that you can give out as well. And then I have an Instagram page. I am Faith Ayanda Komane on Instagram. I have a TikTok page, same Faith Ayanda Komane. And I'm based in Centurion. Yeah, my private practice is in Centurion, but I also do virtual sessions. So I can see people from anywhere.
Thank you for coming on the Safe Space. I really appreciate you.